Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? Welcome to the Sleeper Hole with our no disqualification on the topics and falls count anywhere. Joining me as always, starting off to my far left is Zombie. One of our newest additions, Zeidler here. The Kluganator all the way to my far right. And the guy who's making all the lovely gestures, of course, the analyst Rob Leach.
That's right.
And of course,
Speaking of lovely
him out.
Yeah.
Let's talk about who we have as our guests here. The modern-day outlaw, Brian Ely. And would you like to introduce your daughter?
Yeah, hopefully the very first future second-generation star, Miss Isabel Ely.
There you go. So, hey, welcome back to the show. We know we had you before, but glad to have you here in the bunker and everything else.
You know, I was just talking to these guys. You know, it was almost a year. Like, I think we were 15 days short of the last time I was on the show.
Yeah, I think you're about right.
Yeah.
It was around this time. When, yeah. Well, I know it's Undead Studios, but the whole place is the bunker.
I was a guest along with Archie and him.
The formerly known as President Archie.
Yeah.
Now, what was it? Candy Deluxe, I think is what?
Yep.
Candy Deluxe?
Now,
yeah.
now back to Candy
That's
Deluxe.
a different person.
Give it time. We will have Candy Cane back.
They could be brothers, twins, even.
Do we really want to see Candy Cane back?
I'm saying give it time.
He said, do we really want to see Candy Cane back? I mean, that's...
I'm saying yes.
I'm more looking forward to seeing Lucius Venom with
I remember Lucius
Andy
Venom.
Conda. You remember the little, like, the snake he used to bring out? It was like this long, wrapped around his finger. I called him Andy Conda.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. Talk about bringing back things in the past. Let's go ahead and start right off with you because you've been doing this for quite a while, and I remember you were actually one of the people who helped me learn a lot back in the days of 3CW.
Wow, that does go back. We're talking all the way back to 2000. I don't know if it was 4 or 5. That just shows how old I am.
11th Street Gym,
Yeah.
probably 2005, 2006.
Yeah, I mean, that
Somewhere
was
around
really where I kind of broke back out. And, I mean, I was always kind of in it, but I mean, I was always kind of out of it. Never one of the New Midwest originals or any of that. I mean, I kind of really cut my teeth there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, that's where it all kind of took off for me. We call it the old 3CW arena, and man, we have some fun on there. The wrestling wasn't always great, but we have a good time doing it.
I heard there's a lot of interesting stories we won't go into.
Yeah, we
About
can't
that
mention
place.
the gym, the crash pad, or my daughter's here, so let me give me a break.
Tornadoes.
Yeah, say the tornado.
Yeah, so that was an interesting night.
We'll save that for maybe an after
I've
the
heard
bell
stories,
episode.
I've heard
So.
stories for that one.
Yeah, I christened that place a few times. We'll just put it that way.
If that gym could talk.
Yeah, I mean,
You'd have to have put an NDA on it for sure.
I think I remember also one time somebody said the upper area where the talent would actually watch the shows actually fell through at one point. Like the support for the wood boards and everything was not as great as they would.
okay, here was the deal. The ring was an old boxing ring. It was converted over. We didn't even have real mat padding. We had about this much carpet padding. I mean, it was all just layered. I mean, they got it to about that thick, but it was carpet padding. And every now and again, Gavin Alexander's fat ass would take a bump, and one of the flex beams would completely fall. You just hear ka-donk, and it'd be on the floor. Sometimes, if he took the big enough bump, it was 2. What was even funnier is when we tore the entire ring down to the flex beams and put them across there and tried to watch his fat ass balance on them to straighten them back out. That was the treat.
Good time.
That I did not see personally. But that was
Yeah, we would straighten them out, and we'd turn them upside down so the bow's like this, and then you would watch him, you know,
bounce.
try to bounce and kill himself. as
Okay,
they
I
fall.
do remember him actually doing that one time with one of the beams down.
I was witness to a few of those myself. Yeah.
An even funnier story, since we're on him, I can't help but to not go with this story.
Go for it.
Let's tell some old 3CW stories.
You got it, man. Let's do it.
Gavin Alexander had just moved in with this lady called Dizzy Daisy, and she had a you were a part of that at that time, wasn't you? Or you had something to do with it?
I heard a little
It was a newspaper.
newsletter type thing, yeah.
So I mean, it was kind of an underground thing. So I remember Gavin was kind of a guy that bounced around a lot. I mean, he never lived in one place too long.
Yeah.
And he always lived with somebody else. He never really had his own place.
Yep.
So we remember there was about 20 of us in the gym this day. And boy, he's gonna really kill me for telling the story, but I can't help it.
Sleeper Hole's not responsible.
The content or
it's completely his. So go
I'm
ahead.
gonna G-rate it as much as I can.
I'm enjoying this already. Let's get this going.
You're fine.
G-rate
You are totally fine.
stories?
It is completely
Oh,
all
maybe
you.
PG.
This is YouTube. We're not worried about it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, what the fuck? Here we go. Anyway.
Well, there goes monetization.
I'm not worried about monetization anymore. I'm having fun.
So he comes to the gym and we're all training and we're asking him how his new place was. And you know, Larry, if something's always hurt or something's.
Uh-oh, breaking kayfabe.
Always something going on.
Gavin Alexander. my
Always
bad.
something's going on.
Something's always hurt, something's broke, somebody's dying, or there's something going on. So he's like, we're asking him how his new place was. He goes, well, I got kicked out. We're all freaking out. Like, you've been there 2 days.
Right.
Like, how does one get kicked out in 2 days? Well, he's like, well, she has this lady/guy, and we're like, what are you talking about?
I know exactly who you're talking about.
He goes, she's like Miss Gay Illinois, and I'm like, okay, what's that have to do with you being kicked out? Oh, we got in an argument, and she pulled a knife on me. So,
Wow.
you got to imagine the time. I know everything's so political now, and it was a totally different time back then. But a pro wrestler of 350 pounds plus getting ran out by a drag queen.
Yes.
Was hysterical. Like the whole place. I mean, this is something.
You can't make that up.
No, you can't.
No, the best part is this drag queen is as skinny, if not skinnier than you.
Yeah, maybe 120 pounds. If
Yeah, it's
that.
soaking wet.
If that.
I'm
Matter of
not
fact,
that
they did some
skinny.
design work on a set of tights for me and did an amazing job. That was the best part of the whole thing of that. But
Yeah.
so we all laugh about that, and it's you guys, and I'm leaving, and he waddles out like Cartman on Twinkies. Can't say steroids.
Okay, we can't hear Cartman without. Come on.
What? What do you want me to say?
You're the one that does the voice for him, but you can't hear that and not have a little.
So we get through
Or
that.
not.
He's not going to do it. He left you hanging.
I did it a couple shows ago.
So
Maybe I'll do it when we exit.
So she comes back, or she comes in because she was doing an article with 3CW at the time, and certain wrestlers, I think I was one of them, there was 2 other guys that she wanted to do in-depth articles, but I think more for me because I was in the band at the time, and in the touring rock act at the time.
I
And
remember that.
Yep.
so she comes back in, and somebody said something, and I don't remember, it might have been Adam.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
If
If it's anybody, it would have been Adam.
Chef Leo Legassi, I think that was how you pronounce his last name.
Yep.
Legassi or
Iron
Legosi or
Chef,
something like
Leo.
that.
Other than Adam, I'm not going to drop any last names here. But
Yeah.
he had mentioned, about it. She goes, "What are you talking about?" And we're like, he just said he got in an argument with this person. I think that's the easiest way to put that. And this person pulled a knife out on him. And he ran out. She goes, "That is not what happened. And he did not get kicked out. We didn't ask him to leave. He is perfectly fine to come back." And I'm like, then what are you talking about? And there's probably 25 people around the ring or in there. So, I mean, this is...
Leaning in.
Yeah,
I remember
it's
this
right
now.
there.
The more you talk about it, the more I'm remembering this exact moment.
So just when I think that somebody can't make it up, clearly it sounds like somebody has.
Yes.
That's
So
yeah.
Typical Gavin.
Maybe he should have become a writer instead of.
This is typical Gavin, but keep going.
So she goes, "That is not what happened." And we're like, "Oh, really? So what happened?" And in the process, she announced that her daughter had walked into the same room, and he was in the room with this person, and his pants had hit the floor. Now, she did not elaborate on anything else that happened, but we did know the character name was Summer Breeze, and we have never let that die to this day. He'll be in the ring, and you'll say, "Summer Breeze, F you!" And he gets so mad. We even had it chanted. So, in essence,
Wow.
in the 3CW gym, a guy got busted out for being with a drag queen / trans. I don't know how that goes, so I'm not going to try it. I'm trying not to label it, especially because everything's so damn sensitive in this day and age. Hysterical. Rolling on the floor. Literally, I mean, I think I did 2 laps across the gym rolling this way and then going back this way, stopping, catching my breath, and going again.
Sounds like a good workout.
Oh my gosh. Like it killed the whole training night. Nobody could do nothing.
Yeah.
Like it was over.
Few times like that.
The best part of this is after this whole thing happened, certain people made it a personal, certain owners made it a personal goal to personally invite said Summer Breeze to as many events as possible when they knew he was being booked. I think so.
Okay.
That was definitely Chef Leo Lagos.
As many times as Gavin was booked, this person was also invited to come and be a free guest to the show.
The only other really, really great story I could tell, my daughter is in the room. And maybe we should save that for one other time. And that would be
what I'm thinking of.
yes.
Involving somebody else we know.
Yeah, it involves somebody else's sister that we didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
It was probably the
She's
worst.
just there like, I've probably heard all this.
Okay, I'm going to be the moral coaster and say, yeah, we definitely need to save that story for another time.
Then we'll save it for some other time.
I'm going to mention a little bit about it, just so he'll bring it back up. We should have won an Oscar. If there was anything that ever would have won an Oscar, this was one unlikely event after unlikely event, and I'll have to think about it more to make sure I can tell, but it is definitely not a PG, not an R-rated, not a... It's straight off the fucking chain.
Wow.
I'll put it like this. I've heard this story from more than one source, and it's valid, and I would border on say it's probably close to PG-13 maybe.
Yes, I remember that now. Oh.
I'm thinking I probably know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, we have to say that for after the bell.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a PW, or not a PWA, but a 3CW legendary story that still lives.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I was tagged. But I will tell one other funny story. So, it involves me and Mike Ushman.
Okay.
Okay.
Also known as
Maniac Mike.
Yeah.
Maniac Manus.
Yeah. So
We'll have to ask him about that.
UVW had split off from 3CW.
Yes.
Yeah.
At this time, and that had formed, which Archie had left, and I think you and Archie had got together and started that company. So there were some of us that bled 3CW and wrote it down hardly as it died. I happened to be that guy.
You were one of the guys that it took forever for us to finally convince to be part of our show at least once. It was like, come on, we really want you there. And man, it was brutal trying to get you to join in.
I actually did until the ship went down, and it was probably 6 months.
Yeah, I remember
6 to 8 months.
I remember that.
Every captain goes down with the ship.
And then I wasn't the captain,
he was the Sting of 3CW.
Yeah.
He refused to leave until it was burned to the ground.
Wow.
He was that loyal.
Well, there was such, I went to high school with some of the guys in New Midwest, and we're good friends now.
Yeah.
When I say good friends, do we call each other on a daily basis? No. Are we good enough friends that we call each other on our bullshit? Yes, that happens. Do we talk? Yes. I mean, and we hang out in the locker room. We weren't always on the best speak, especially not, me and, Guy Smith. We couldn't even put us probably in the same room.
Yeah.
And that may have been more me back then, hell-bent, than him. So I was trying to make as much of a difference. And when Rip Mystic came along, we really felt we had the chance.
Yeah.
We were starting to outdraw them.
Yeah.
And that was not at the 3CW arena. That's when we moved over to the Quonset Hut. Or we were drawing the same.
Yeah.
I don't know if we outdrew. I knew we outdrew them in the UVW Rip Mystic Brian Ely days.
Yes, you guys.
We were probably the highest drawing act for that summer.
Oh yeah. You guys gave us good numbers that day.
And that went the whole summer long, really. So, but the story, and this one really, I guess, isn't all that bad as far as a couple stories. We'll start out. Which one did I start with first? To remind me, because I've got 10 stories in my head I'm trying to...
Well,
You gave Gavin kicked out. You gave the one that we can't talk about.
Yes. All right, so Rip Mystic, Brian Ely, Adam, and who else was the other guy training?
Was it Tony?
Tony, yeah.
No, it wasn't Tony. It was Ushman.
Oh.
Ushman was there. And I'll get back to the other Ushman story here in a minute. I know I kind of jumped off track there a little bit.
It's all good, man. No worries.
So we were all training one night, and Adam gets drunk, like Adam does.
Yeah.
So Adam is drunk and crashes on the pad. We're all supposed to meet the next morning.
Yeah.
So
Wasn't there a show the next day?
no, but we were just training that morning.
Okay.
Early in the morning, get there about 9 o'clock, just do an early training session. And I think it was 11. We met at 11. So we all leave. Adam says he's going to stay. I mean, he's hammered and half asleep anyway. So, which if you knew that guy back then, that was nothing. You either saw a Philly cheesesteak somewhere half eaten, or a pizza somewhere, or chicken wings. One of the three, and him being inebriated, passed out on a crash pad or in the office.
The food sounds good anyway.
Yeah, and we did that like every Thursday.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why I started getting
Yeah,
fat.
and there was some
Anyway.
nice after shows that happened.
Hey, some of us can handle it. Some people can't. So.
I definitely could handle it back then, but not so much now. I look at a French fry and it's saying, "Holy shit, get away from me!" But we all left, and we come back, and Adam's car's there. That's right, it's about 11. Nobody had any idea. We had moved the crash pad to the other side with him on it as a joke. It was partially under the ring, partially not, because it wouldn't all the way fit. We just figured we didn't see him, but when you walked in, you couldn't see him. If you even got on the ring, unless you got to that side, you couldn't see him.
Right.
And we figured he was probably in hometown pantry or in the pisser or whatever. Nobody thought nothing of it. We got geared up. We stretched out. We went and hit the ring. Nobody knew his head was still underneath the fucking ring. And he took the first bump.
Oh,
That is how he woke up to the loudest bang. All we heard was, "You motherfucker!" And he was running over here. I mean, it may not be as funny coming across. It was definitely one of those you had to be there. Like, it was
Too bad it wasn't the 350 plus trying to.
Oh god.
You might have broken on him.
No, it was me and Rob. Me and Red Mystic. We did a high spot drill, and it turned in. I think it was him that took the hip toss first, and all we heard, "Motherfucker!" Yeah, he was not happy. It was actually kind of funny.
That's great.
Yeah, that is good.
The other story is, and I'll finally cop to this. I think out of all these years, I've never been the one to ever admit this to anyone.
Oh, here we go.
I think Kluge might know, but I think as far as a podcast, so there was this period. We're back to when
Not a podcast.
or YouTube show, yeah, when UVW formed and split off from 3CW, and I was very much that we talked about 3CW guy. So we were hanging flyers one day, and I remember Vampire Caval, Joe Skolinka, he was part of it too, and he had left, and I always really respected that guy and always wanted to work with him.
God,
So I was really pissed that happened because it just killed my chance.
Wow.
And so we go flyer hanging, and we do our normal flyer, and it was me and Ushman. Ian McManus or Maniac Mike, whatever his name of the week is.
Maniac Mike was back then, yeah.
And
but known to fans today as Ian McMahon.
yes.
Yeah.
So we go, and we're flying, and I got this great idea. Joe lived right by the Vampire Caval lived right by the gym.
Yeah.
So I taped 30 flyers together and taped it to his car window.
I heard about this, by the way.
Now keep in mind, he just left 3CW on a bad note. So 30 3CW flyers have been taped together and taped to his car window. And I covered his windows with them. And this is all in the middle of the night at like,
Jeez.
I don't know, 9:30, 10 o'clock. He's home, but the lights, he always has blinds on, so we had no clue. Then I got the bright idea. New Midwest was at the warehouse. at that
I
time.
remember hearing this story.
We camped out in the parking lot, not really knowing what we were going to do, and waited. They were training that night. And we watched this guy Smith, Spotlight, Spencer Powers. All these guys left, and we were camped out in my truck. They never saw us in the same parking lot. Now, keep in mind they have a show, and their stuff's already preset, so they usually don't get there till right before the door, or don't have to get there. That the sound, the ring, everything's already done. Kind of like the 3CW thing. I had probably put 80 flyers together in the exact same width of the glass door on the front of the NMW arena. So when they all show up and their fans show up, they advertise a 3CW show that was the next day. And I mean, they had lost their mind. I mean, that was just me. I would always rib, and I was.
Oh, I've heard some stories from him.
Like I would just, and that was the horrible thing. Like I don't, and I guess that's kind of what gets me in trouble. Like when I respond, if I got heat with somebody or I get pissed off, or God knows we're not allowed to do Facebook Live anymore. But
I think that was a decision by the board.
I'll shoot out to those guys now because there's no heat there anymore. How you guys doing? Hope you're kicking ass and taking names. But if anybody doesn't know, I'm meeting Tracy Smothers and Joey Grunge.
There you go.
So that don't show you there's the shout out. But I don't idly say nothing. Like, if I'm going to respond, I'm going to wait. I'm going to find the thing that hurts you the most, and I'm going for the kill. Like, I just don't idly spout out bullshit. Like, the few times, like, I was actually mad, no, I was, like, I legit, if you were in front of me, that was about to happen. Like, that's just me.
Yeah.
It's a horrible thing. Because most people just idly spout out bullshit, and fine, I find the thing that sends you through the fucking roof, and I use it. I guess the cerebral part.
Yeah.
But so I guess that's a bad thing about some of my ribs. Like, and it was done vindictful. It wasn't done as a funny thing. It was definitely an FU at the time.
Right.
And I heard it got the reaction exactly that I wanted to get.
Oh yeah. The next day.
From everybody.
The next day when we're all getting together to discuss EVW business, in comes Cobalt. You wouldn't believe what happened to my car. I mean, just go on. He's like, and he was right on. He was like, I bet you it was Brian. I guarantee it was probably Brian.
You know,
I'm gonna kick his ass. And I'm like, dude,
that would have never happened in a million years.
I'm just like, dude. First of all, didn't do any damage to your car. Well, no, then no big deal. Secondly, you have no solid proof.
Well, nobody ever, not even Adam, walked up to me and asked me if I did it.
They probably didn't care.
Like, nobody had, I mean, I had heard the heat.
I thought it was hilarious, personally. I won't lie.
It was funny.
As a UVW owner, when I heard about it, I kind of had to sit there and laugh, like, well played. I was like, you guys got us.
And speaking of UVW, remember when Archie had called me up and asked me to join the team? And there was one point in time I was coming.
Yeah.
And I only had one deal. I was tired of the only thing that pissed me off about 3CW. I was tired of what I felt was the best talent in there. And guys like Chuck Diamond at the time were getting pushes. And I never felt those guys could ever touch my jock, let alone my ring work or anything else. And the reaction I was getting from the fans. And I didn't have to have the belt, but I wanted and I was at a point where that was really important to me.
Right.
And I remember in the negotiations with Archie, I said, is there a title run? And I said, you want me this bad? Do you feel, and this is before we were really good friends and we were just acquaintances. I mean, you staked me out for 6 months now. Is there a title run? Do I get a guaranteed deal? And he always stumbled on it. He always drug his feet on it, and at the last minute, he was like, do we have a deal? And I'm like, so what about this title run? Is it in? It doesn't have to happen when I get there, but is it something that's promised that we're going to lead into?
It's like, what's the influence to get, what is your influence besides just saying, I want you? It's more like, I want
what's the
you,
motivation?
Listen, I wasn't struggling for bookings.
Yeah.
I was working GAW at the time. I think 3CW had went out. I had got to do some stuff with New Breed here and there. At the time,
the one Peoria was still
beating down my door.
Yeah.
I eventually went there, and that turned out to be, well, we can talk about that later too.
Yeah.
That turned out to be a complete and total nightmare. That was the sense of promising you the world, and you get there and it all flubs.
Yeah.
But, which I guess happens, but I mean, that guy was creepy in his own sense, and I'll explain that.
Well, Well, kind of on the sense of when all this passed, like where would you say like you competed in your first match? Like as a
full-blown professional, I was 3CW.
3CW. Do you remember who it was you were against?
I think it was Raven.
Okay.
And I remember guys coming back that had been there going, "Oh my God, that's your first match ever?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Wow.
Like, so I mean, it just, for me, it kind of, I think I was there 2 months, did 2 matches, and Adam, who was the head trainer at the time, was sitting on the sidelines with me in the ring, telling me how to do it, and I was the guy. And like, that was just, until Rip Mystic got there, that was my job to get everybody. And I was the guy that was always there, too.
Yeah.
Like, I was there 3-4 nights a week. I put in the work. That elbow drop, God, it didn't come naturally.
No.
I mean, you know how many times I wasn't using the crash pad when we did it. I mean, we had a bump bitch.
Yeah.
Some carpet padding up there, and that was just to make sure I didn't kill nobody. And I spent countless hours. I mean, the same thing with my moonsaults when I used to do that. I mean, gosh.
And actually, the bump bitch actually started off as a boxing punching bag.
Yeah. They got taped up 1,000 times, and then. So, I mean, I had spent countless hours working on my high spots, working on my technique. I mean, chain wrestling. Those guys, especially the NMW guys, "Oh, you guys completely suck." You know what? Fuck you. I'm going to stick it up yours. And that was my attitude back then.
Right.
I mean, that was honest to God it. So you told me I am not that guy you can ever say no to, or more or less than not say no. You can't say I can't.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to shove it up your ass if it, and I'm still kind of like that.
Yeah.
Just to spite
Kinda.
you. You know? Like, I'm just not a guy that believes that labels are limits. And I tell my daughter the same thing. Listen, if you put the work
Good
in,
mentality. I mean,
if you put the, especially in this day and age now where women can do anything.
oh yeah.
Like there's really, the sky is the limit on this. If you're going to put in the work and you're going to put the time in, it's possible.
You can kick ass with just about anybody.
Even if you
no
don't make it to WWE, look at the independent scene right now and how you can make it
up.
Yeah.
Like, there's part of me that gets a little itch every now and again to start maybe reaching out again. You know,
I
and
mean, you're not done. I mean,
especially in the shape I'm starting to get into now, like, I can physically go again. Like, and I'm going to say probably go again as good as I did before I had the heart attack.
yeah.
Did not take enough time off. I mean, I know it was only a year and a half, but I definitely rushed my comeback. I was nowhere near ready for that when I came back.
I was going to ask about that too. Whenever that happened, initially, did you think that you were done, or did you still have that like little bit on your shoulder going, you know what, I'm still going to try this, or did you just like?
I was more worried after I came out that it was over, and just so many things. I wasn't ready for it to end just like that.
Right.
Like that was the.
So you kind of felt.
When I came out of surgery, and I remember my mom came in.
I was like, you're more than welcome to.
You probably remember some of that stuff more than I do at that time.
Yeah.
Do speak up too, Jen.
He was definitely scared because I went and I visited him in the hospital before he went into the heart attack, and when he saw me, he just cried.
Yeah, I mean, and I almost get kind of emotional talking about. I mean, it was
a dark time.
Wrestling wasn't necessarily the important thing. Like, I'm having a heart attack. I've got, I think, an 8-year-old little girl at that time. You know, just seeing her, it just completely, like, that was my focus and my motivation at that time. And, you know, we're close. We have always been tight-knit. She's kind of closer to her mom now at times, but there's a bond that you can't
break the bond.
It's just that's my little girl. She's going to be 15 next year, and it's still not going to change anything. That's my baby.
Yeah.
I also have a son that I love dearly. He's my stepson, Max Pope. Shout out to my little buddy out there. You know, those 2 kids, you'll say, you know, I'll kill somebody over. Like those are just that's my babies.
That's a father's mentality. I mean, that's what you get. So.
You know, so that, and I get in trouble for spoiling the shit out of them. Mom says no, and Dad usually always says yes, and then Dad gets reamed for hours.
That's the reason why I dread the idea about one day having a daughter, because I know I'm going to have that same problem.
But 3 days later, I think it was when I actually got my first room.
Sorry, my dog's.
It was after the surgery. My amazing surgeon, Dr. Hazelrig, came in, and that was the first question I asked him. I said, how long? And he goes, I don't understand what you're talking about. I said, how long before I can get back in the ring? Or can I? And he explained, he goes, I don't see why not. And he said, you got 2 brand new arteries. I was a heavy tobacco chewer, heavy cigarette smoker, even vapor. At that time, I was kind of in the middle of doing all. He'd never Rip Mystic was a chewer.
Yeah,
I was a smoker.
I remember
we kind of traded habits a little bit. He went on a smoking range, and I went on a chewing thing. And I actually enjoyed the chewing more than the smoking. It was kind of a nasty habit. I got tired of carrying a bottle around everywhere. But I would still occasionally, you can ask him, I lived with him. It wasn't uncommon for me to come home from a workout or come home from work with my, and I was one of those guys that started here and it ended somewhere back here. So I mean, I'm probably a quarter of a can every chew. I might get 3 to 4 chews out of a can, So I mean, I was pretty heavy with it. And basically, what they could say is, I nicotine myself to death pretty much. I didn't have a blockage that was normal. So it wasn't just a normal cholesterol block. I completely shrank. Because that's what nicotine does. It constricts your arteries. I collapsed your arteries.
I've lost a few family members because of those very same habits.
And when they tried to stint it to pull it back out, it was going to blow. They could see it. And my heart had pathed, which is blood circulating out. And the best they can figure, they found 5 blood clots in another artery ready to blow. And they think that's actually what caused the heart attack.
Wow.
The fact that you're still here and still performing in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, I had what they call the Widowmaker heart attack. 5 blood clots in another artery. That's what they think was starting it. I had open heart surgery, a double bypass, and I left with 5% damage. They said 5 or less in the lower chamber of my heart, which is the best place to have the damage and the worst place to have the heart attack, because usually it's fatal. And I was cleared to completely, I could go be a UFC fighter right now if my body can handle it. That was the last message from my cardiologist.
Nice.
Wow.
So, I'm off. I don't take blood thinners anymore.
I love the optimism and the.
Yeah, it was all mental. And then there was a really dark period when I came back training. My body wasn't limber. I'd sat out. I'd put a lot. The injuries had kind of. Stuff I'd constantly worked through, then I started losing limberness. And I'm still fighting that to this day. I mean, getting it back to where, honest to God, I couldn't sit here like this 6 months ago.
No.
I shouldn't even have been in the ring when I was wrestling Madman. I went with a torn meniscus and performed a whole match. Some people said it looked like shit. I'm sure it did. I couldn't move. And I gave everybody, I didn't want to, and I didn't want to leave anybody out.
Right.
And I had to finish the program.
You had the fans in mind when you did.
Yeah, no, I had him in mind too. I mean, look at what he had to come back. I'm pretty sure I was supposed to go over in that project till everything went to shit because of my heel run, but I was perfectly fine with it. It didn't bother me a bit. I didn't know my certainty,
right?
Of how long I was going to be at that time. So it was a dark period. I remember, and this guy really didn't help me out a lot. He did at the time. We'll talk a little bit about Tim Gibbons. He was a great help when I was out. When Tim Gibbons first started, and I know we don't have the best, what you call, relationship all the time, and he kind of took part of my roster and turned them into assholes. Especially one curly-headed bitch that I can't stand, but we won't mention his name. Although you get your hands caught in his hair when you try to throw him around the ring. But, so he was there. He was my right-hand man. Me and him could go out and go out in one day and do more in one day than 5 people could do in 3 days. We just dominated everything. And it wasn't, everybody's like, oh, it was Tim. Well, he had a part in it. I'll never deny it. He came in when we were on the way up.
Right.
But we were already starting to draw again, and we went through that horrible period, that lull, where we moved and you did half a season with 39 to 40 people. My God, we're up to 80 again, and we're it's starting to happen. And he came in right at the right time, and he became a ref, and he was probably one of the best we've ever had. Never take that away from the guy. And we just kept moving and marching forward. But man, when I was out, he worked under me, and he did a hell of a job keeping my company rolling. For that, I will always be indebted or grateful to the guy for making those decisions. We didn't have problems till I came back and was ready to take the reins back, and he wasn't ready for that, nor wanted that. And then next thing you know, there was all these propaganda meetings to take me completely out of power. And remember that? I wasn't allowed. They were trying to vote me out of the gym.
It wasn't that. It was just you were trying to take more control than everyone else was comfortable with at the time.
But that was always what I'd done. I mean, that was. I mean, this is my baby. Since which we'll talk about how that happened too. That's a really funny story.
Yeah.
But and then then it kind of went sour. I mean, there was a click thing. It kind of happened, and all I can say is it was bad for business at the time. I really hate using that term, but everybody in that clique, or whatever you want to call the Moss and Tom Bullet Club, I was talking one time and my phone said Tom instead of Tim or whatever when I was pissed off ranting. When it broke up, those guys all did wonders.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, look where Roscoe's at.
Right.
My guy couldn't, and that's a guy I had nothing to do with. I had nothing to do with training that guy. Absolutely none. Jake Lander, Cardini, Harley, I started them from the bottom. I got them, nurtured them, got them ready. Bradley Stevens was with me. Rip Mystic. We all kind of matured them and got them ready for Jaron. And then Jaron and, or not Jaron, Guy Smith and Spotlight Spencer Powers did the magic after that.
Right.
It's so important to have a solid foundation, and then we could teach you how to work the other.
So you kind of did the prep work, and
that's where I really like to be. I like to either be the guy that starts you out, and I like the finish work. And now when I say finish work, I don't necessarily mean like of the skills of the finish work. I mean watching your matches, seeing what move sets, and it running through my head, this is going to be good, and directing you there. Right. Hey, do this and lead this into this. Those are the two spots that I enjoy the most. To do the stuff that Guy Smith does and all the deep stuff, I don't enjoy that. I didn't enjoy going through it myself. I know it. Like, I know how to get there, but I don't have that knack for explaining it like he does. And even Jake Lander now has that knack for explaining it.
Oh, yeah.
And doing that. He was training before, it was over. So, I mean, there's a lot of schools around here, but there's none in that short that 2 to 3 years that produced more talent, more key talent than Fall Academy did. And even though it's closed now, you can't be any
for now at least.
Right? Yes,
you never
for now. No, there is listen, she started, and we're kind of taking it slow, but if nothing else, I will reopen something to finish my kid.
Well, that's one thing I want to ask you. I mean, you mentioned earlier at the start of the show, you're hoping for her to be the future second generation. What have you been doing to help her prepare?
Well, let me tell this story. This bit me in the ass.
Okay.
She
seems a little proud right here.
She can talk after this. He'll
do the prep work.
So she's been bugging me, and she's bugging me. Don't use your body. Use your brain. Do whatever. I'm already beat up now. I'm half depressed. I'm not performing at the level I'm used to performing. Am I even supposed to still be here?
Yeah.
Why should I be here? I got all guys like Givens and all the rookies talking about, oh, he's not this, and Harley and all them being one of them. And, the old guy would have told you to suck it in 2 words and move forward. This guy was still unsure of himself.
Yeah.
And I really needed admiration and help. And me being the guy that I am, I was never strong enough to ask for that. it always often formed in lashing out.
Yeah.
But best way to hide your weaknesses is to,
Yeah.
not really.
I think after hearing that, I feel a lot closer to you as I'm.
But I get your psychology.
Yeah, no, I
desperately
desperately needed to lie on the couch and talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And if you talk to some, I probably still do. But there's been a few periods in my life where that's happened. So she begs me and begs me and begs me, and I take her in there. Nobody's there.
Yeah.
And this is in Auburn. And I don't know how her mom's going to feel about it, because she don't like this shit anyway.
Wait, I think Jason was there.
No.
Which day are we referring?
I'm pretty sure you were.
He wasn't there. It was just me and you, because I videotaped it. Because I couldn't believe it and videotaped it, and I sent it to your mom, making sure that I didn't know how it was going to go, so I just presented a video. But so
surprise!
That's kind of how it went into my mom. So she's 13 at the time. She might have been 12 when we took her first.
12.
She was 12. And I wanted to do this real slow anyway, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to teach her how to bump, she's going to knock the wind out of herself, and she's never going to want to do this again.
Yeah.
So I taught her how to do the baby bumps. We hold the rope and we squat, and she did those. She was kind of, and I was like, all right, well, she did that better, and I thought, let's just send her out to the middle of the floor. She's either going to bump her head, one concussion, and I was horrible as a father, but I'm really trying to discourage this at this point. I was
trying to scare it out of her, huh?
Yeah, I stepped in the middle of the ring, I bumped, turned on my elbow, showed her how to get up, showed her how to circle. She did one, and I was like, that was a little better than I thought, and then she turned around on her elbow and snapped 5 more perfectly, just snap, 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 like she had always done it her entire life. And I was like, motherfucker.
Damn.
Genetically.
And that was, yeah, I mean, and I say snap, I mean snap, feet up in the air, I mean trying to kick herself in the head.
Well, you taught us back in 3C.
So, I mean, it's just the way to do it, the same way.
Yeah.
So that backfired. And then I was like a proud daddy taking pictures. Almost forgot that I was trying to discourage this in the first place. Like, well, it's not, because I did that. That's how it worked with me.
The discouragement turned into like, oh wow,
I had
discouragement
it in
to
my
pride.
mind. I was like, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna do this, and if I couldn't do it, I was gonna try again. I was not giving up.
Funny story, they're training, and IJ Sweet just came back just before he graduated. And he was bumping, and when I heard Guy Smith go, it's really sad that little girl's bumps are better than yours, and you've been doing this for 6 months. I was like, and not to call him out, but that's just what kind of talent I think we're moving forward into.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. This little girl, as she comes with it, will blow anything I've ever done with. And I may not make it to WWE, but I think she can.
Now, I want to ask this to you, though, because I know for me, back when he taught me to bump, I knew what I liked the most, I knew what I was okay with, and I knew what I hated.
Yeah.
Face, back, flip. Order of what you like the most to what you like the least.
Face, back.
Face bump. Back bump. Flip bumps we haven't started yet.
Okay, you haven't done flip
I
bumps.
haven't started those yet.
I was terrible at those until he taught me how to hip toss.
Have we done face bumps?
Yes. Drop toe holds, all that stuff. Face bumps.
Oh, I probably like the back bump the most. That doesn't really bother me. Face bump come after that.
I hate the face bump.
It doesn't bother me. It's just
My thing is, like the face bump, I don't like that whole coming at me like that type thing. But it's
Yeah.
funny because for the longest time, he would yell at me about the flip bumps because
Oh,
I
yeah.
could not give myself enough momentum. He's like, all right, look, we're just gonna actually hip toss you. I'm like, what? Yeah, we're gonna hip toss you. And so they have me moving towards him. He grabs me and goes, okay, now you're gonna flip like they do in the show. So you're gonna come at me. I'm gonna grab you.
And you go,
I went right over to him. I'm like, that was easier than I thought. He goes, yeah, I'm telling you, idiot, stop faking and do it.
yeah.
Like it was, and I wasn't technically doing my flip bumps right. Jaron or Guy Smith, like, oh, poor guy, keep
It's all right. It's all right.
marking him out here. But
there's no kayfabe.
yeah, I mean, I had to refine mine
safe zone
later on because I mean, I jumped out and flipped instead of going up more and flipping. We haven't done flip bumps with her yet, and I'm taking my time. Like, I'm not going to rush her into shows. She's not going to be Paige at 14 doing this. Like, not that there was anything wrong with that, because trust me, that's all she wanted to be, was Paige. And especially being 14 and being
I'm okay with this also.
and being a second gender. I just want her to focus on some stuff. Her body's still growing a little bit. You know, she doesn't have to compete at the level that most of the guys do. Now, when I say that, this little girl will stay in and hang out with all the boys during calisthenics and do all the workouts, and she doesn't chicken out or do any of that. I'm just more worried about protecting the body at this point in time. And
Really?
about the time we'll keep working, she can chain wrestle with you. She can run the ropes. She knows how to do certain moves. By the time she hits 16, and if the academy isn't back open, then I will take her to school and we will finish it. If I have to hire Jaron when it gets to that point, Guy Smith or whatever, to come in and do that and finish that. You know, there was 3 people she wanted to train her, myself, her Uncle Rob, and Guy Smith.
Good choices.
And that was...
Good choices.
So between that, Uncle Rob being Rip Mystic.
Yeah.
And so between that, I think she's got a good grasp on it. I want to start her, and then Rob and or Rip and Guy can take it from there. And
Definitely see you down in the training center, see you up on the TV.
So what do you think? 17, 18 years old, you might give the Queen a little bit of a run for her title ring. Or
Shit, that's a
for
fight
her
now.
rank in the ring.
Yeah.
That's an argument now.
The Queen may have
At that
to.
point, it'll be Queen.
The Queen may have to worry about being dethroned at the way she's
Like I
going.
mentioned, my FU type of
His fight
thing.
words right there, I
mean,
think. That's
she might be the queen of PWA, but
well, she calls
I'm
it.
a diva, so.
Well, she calls herself the queen of the indie scene.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking we may have a.
No, Harley's definitely
Bro.
good. Definitely good.
And that's a girl I'm proud of too, man. She's come along.
Oh yeah, we had her.
But that could be a good rivalry.
Like she had a hard time. I don't know how many concussions that girl gave herself.
Broken leg.
Well, I mean, we're just talking about when we started. Like, I actually opened the gym on Saturdays that we weren't open, and many sessions with her to get her to buy. I don't know how many times that girl liked to knock her side. She just got up and kept coming, kept coming.
Yeah, she's definitely.
definitely-
It never came easy to her. Like, I mean, she has had to fight and crawl and work for everything she's got.
You know, when you find something you love, you just keep going.
Yeah,
don't give
no,
up.
and it's amazing what determines. And that's why I say if you stick in it and you put the work in and you do the time, talent is not, and I say this with the guitar too. Some guys it comes naturally to. Some things came natural to me. A lot of things did.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that I'm known for now, you know how many hours when people were going outside, drinking, partying, smoking pot, getting laid, I stuck myself in a bedroom with a guitar and just worked on these things, worked on these things. So, I mean, you get it down. Like arpeggio sweeping and all that shredding stuff, it didn't always come easy. Like there was some stuff, certain licks always would.
Well, speaking of the guitar, let's talk about your band a bit.
Hey, yeah, no, it's
when I first met you, that was one of the big things about you is that not only were you a wrestler, but you were in a band and you were.
As Casey Jackson said, the Chris Jericho of the indie scene.
There you go.
I'm sure there were many others, but at least in our area.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I'll take that. That's good.
And I had blonde hair at the time, so it was all artificial. But anyhow,
No, really?
Yeah,
I'll
I,
be
you know,
Hey,
I think I
there's a
Did you not hear the
nasty.
sarcasm in that?
There's a
Come on.
nasty little rumor that somebody said part of this might be artificial too, but I don't know who that guy was. Asshole.
That's like him showing up next week with a full head of hair, and it's like,
this
Well, like, my
this
God,
will be
I'm
gone.
35. I'm going gray. It's over. No. I don't know, man. The band thing now is really cool. Back then, it was really, really cool. Super exciting. We're writing our own tunes. It's my first real big deal, and I kind of got it right off the get-go. So I didn't have many garage bands before I found one that worked.
Right.
Now, funny story about this band, I was supposed to be the rhythm/lead guitar player. More rhythm because the guys were older than me and this guy was amazing.
Right.
And he still is. Can't convince him of that. But he was a skydiving instructor and somehow ripped half his pinky off and it was hanging on the way out. I got caught on the plane.
Oh, jeez.
So we come into rehearsal one day and he's got pins in and he goes, I can use these 3 fingers. But he goes, I'm not going to be very good on the leads. You got the job. So a very young, I know, one minor pentatonic shape in every key. And instead, I'm known for being extremely fast, but that's how I hid my weakness. I could play stuff so fast at that time, and I had to work on it and make myself do it, that I could really just bullshit through what I didn't know. And honest to God, that was it. I mean, I knew one, and it stuck that way for a long time. And then everybody's like, "You're amazing." Well, don't tell a 21-year-old that.
Especially a 21-year-old you.
Yeah, like I mean,
it's not like Brian ever had an ego.
Like when we were on the road and doing stuff.
Just, he has somebody with a mirror like in front of him constantly. You're awesome.
Yeah. Like it wasn't. It was, but it wasn't. And I was so young that everybody around it was just like, "Oh my God," and I'm just like, "But you guys have no idea."
I can almost hear his eyes rolling with all that.
There was a Ozfest story, but we're not going to go into that.
That's what was popping into my head right now.
Let's just put it this way: the end of the Ozfest story is don't impersonate Zach Wild when he's actually in the same place as you are.
Oh, I can already imagine.
I got the mother-daughter at the same time, but it didn't end after that as well as I thought it would. My daughter really didn't need it. I mean, sorry, babe. But I mean,
What things you learn about your dad?
Yeah.
Like
one of these days, you'll obviously hear all this when you're a little older. And
guys had drug vices. Guys had alcohol vices. The only vice I think I ever had was women. And that it always got me in a lot of trouble. But so no, it was fun. It was actually really many years later that I actually really developed the technique and became as good as everybody, or I hope I became as good as everybody said I am.
Or that you thought you were.
Yeah. No, I mean I really went back and I'd say probably about 2007, 2008 really became a student of the game at that point.
Right on.
I mean, when you're in the studio, there's only so many things you can throw 150 miles an hour. And I got really lucky. Like I would naturally, from a long line of music history, like I would go places that I didn't know. Like, and it would always work. And then I would start piecing that together and keep doing that. And, you know, being able to take as many takes at it as you want, you really kind of develop where you're going in a lead or something.
Right. So
eventually I got aggravated about 2007, 2008 and decided I need to actually know. I don't want to be that guy when there's like, yeah, you're playing a Dorian minor scale. What's a Dorian minor scale? I said, no, there's not really too much of a Dorian minor scale. Dorian's major. But, well, actually, it's kind of the minor. Yeah, I'll be all day talking theory and put everybody to sleep. But
welcome to the music hold.
Yeah. So no, it was really fun, and we did some things, and we opened up for a lot of '80s hair metal bands, and had one chance to go overseas with Bon Jovi and couldn't afford it.
Oh damn!
That was, and then it always had come back, that band, as a reincarnation, and we never finished our first album. And then we kept trying to put it together, and we kept writing. So eventually we have about 4 albums worth of stuff, and we finally built this awesome studio for us. I mean, and for a budget, and this was right before the heart attack. I remember we were really fighting to get it, and none of us could get along. Like, we all had a vision. Some of the stuff sounded 80s, and I was really big into listening to Shinedown and that kind of thing. So I was pushing for that. If it sounded dated to me, bullshit, you know what I mean? Like, we're never going to get anywhere doing this shit. Like, we either need to revamp it or whatever, and it just didn't work. And I actually had almost left the group a couple times over it, which is something, but I mean, we're all still family. Like, I mean, I don't know if Jeff's watching. Hughes, I haven't seen him in probably 6-7 years, but I'll shout out to him. Always, he taught me a lot.
I know.
Him and I think Dave Shaw were like 2 of the biggest influences on how I should put it together and how I should bring it in. And even Jeff Mead, I mean, he was a constant book of knowledge. Even the stuff I didn't know and couldn't explain, he always could. You know,
as long as you don't forget where you came from.
No, never. I know this. I know I got my stepdad, Steve, who's no longer with us, bought my first real. I had a Fender Stratocaster, but he went out and bought my first Jackson. Note that one on my arm. It's named after my daughter.
Nice.
With the exact same guitars at home, and it's going on 18 years old. I'm still playing it out live to this day.
Nice.
So, Every time I think I'm going to put it on the wall,
you pull it down.
I pull it down and start. It's always, if I go into the studio, it's always been like I've got Les Pauls now, and I've got other Jackson soloists, and I've got really nice Charvels and Ovation acoustics.
There's
and
always that special one.
You know, you always have one, and it's probably now it's the cheapest out of all the ones I own. But I've replaced many parts in it. I mean,
it's your baby.
It is my baby. It still sounds great. Like all the pickups are custom. I've put them. I've adjusted it all. I got rid of the generic fake Floyd Rose tremolo system and popped the Floyd Rose original in it. And I think it's actually getting ready to go in to put a Sustainiac, which is a cool kind of a pickup that guitar players Phil Collin from Def Leppard uses one. Sinister Gates from Avenged Sevenfold. It's really cool to put a bunch of whammy tricks. So if I put that in, it'll definitely be in the arsenal for many more years to come.
Totally.
But the band I'm in now is really cool. It's a cover band. For the first time, I'm playing everybody else's stuff, really, that I'm not. My brother brought me back to life for Casper and the Country Customs, which the Country Customs was my grandfather's band. Yeah. And I actually had played like rhythm guitar and done some stuff in that. And as brothers do, we tend to get into it. Somebody's been doing this for many more years than him. Yeah. And he thought he had a vision and it clashed with mine. And I think there was more of an ego thing. My brother's probably one of the best, if not the best singer in Springfield. But in one sense, somehow it turned around to it was a family thing. He owns this now.
Ah, gotcha.
I'm saying your brother actually opened for somebody at the fair this year.
Brett Eldridge.
Yeah, Brett Eldridge. You won a karaoke contest. So in the process of this, somehow it went from this is a family band to I own this thing. Mm-hmm. Like it's still kind of a sensitive subject with all of us. And, you know, it was never the band part of it. I've been in and out of whatever. It was the whole thing of he took something.
That was family.
That was family. That was all of ours.
Yeah.
If our grandfather was here right now, you would have yanked that thing from him so fast, and it would have been like I was the prodigy of Sam Ely, which is the Country Customs.
Yeah.
It wasn't him. Not that he's not good or not deserving. How can you move forward? How could you use this and it not be? To me, it's not authentic. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
To me, and I'm not saying that I ever want to come back. Like, I'm sure we will do something together. Like, it will come together, and it's probably the reason neither one of us made it, because we 10-1, we probably can't make it without each other.
Right.
And as hard as that is for me to admit it, you know, I mean, he's doing good, though, now. I'm actually really proud of the guitar player that they have. We've got Joe Cook in the band right now, who performed on the album and played with the legendary band Doucette. I don't know if you ever heard the song Mama Let Him Play. Well, he was the guitar player on that song.
I've heard that. Yeah.
So as far as that goes, the guitar player who's representing the band right now, if it couldn't be me, I couldn't be any prouder of the guy that's actually doing the job. But, and then I found, it was supposed to be called Toy Box. A buddy of mine called me, Preston Gary, and this guy sounds like AC/DC, but we'll be opening up for everybody again. He wants to do originals. And
cool. I'm
like, okay, I'm in. Not a big AC/DC type fan, but whatever. After playing them, I know why everybody likes it. They're actually fun. Yeah. I can actually listen to them. Before that, it was too easy for me. It wasn't like Steve Vai or Yngwie Malmsteen. I couldn't get into it. Or, you know.
AC/DC is always the band that I always listen to get blood pumping.
Yeah, they can piss you off really good. If you're pissed off, you can it's better than Metallica, if you ask me.
That's always what I end up listening to before I start screaming myself.
So we did that project for Never Played Out with it. We kept getting it ready,
Yeah.
The singer just fly by night and gone. We're getting ready to gig out. Man. Takes off overnight. My drummer, Roger Dyer, who was also the drummer in the original band Ivory Rust at one time.
Okay, yeah.
When Okie Morris left the first time, that was our first replacement.
Yeah.
We had him and we have Dave Shaw. So between those three, that was pretty much, and Eric Austin, I think, at the end was the drummer that never made it out when we were in the studio. Great drummer, by the way. Good kid, too. But, so we decided we want to do some covers and make some money. I'm sitting here with about $20,000 worth of music gear going, you know, I did all this original shit, but man, money's something I really didn't make a lot of.
Oh, yeah.
we've been on the big stages, we've done this, but there's just not a lot of money. And
I have a question for you, actually, pertaining to this too. Is how did you see your wrestling career and your music career kind of evolve side by side as you were doing both of them? Like how have you seen one of them maybe helping or hindering the other?
I was always busy.
Always busy.
I don't know how. I mean, it had to be because I don't think I could keep that schedule to this day. I worked a full-time job. I was very, very physical full-time job. I was a fresh new father. She was all of about 1. She lived with her mom. At that time, I had a schedule of I had her Sundays and Mondays. And those were the 2 days I shut the world off.
Right.
A lot of times, my phone would even be off. I wouldn't even talk. I mean, that was purely just my time with her. Freshly divorced, too. We're on my way to it. You can see, I mean, you can't keep a marriage going long in the lifestyle I was living. Or her, for that matter. It was probably one of those things that was doomed from the get-go. But you just like, okay, Tuesday nights it's wrestling. Wednesday night it's band practice. No, Wednesday night we're gigging. That's right. Yeah, I did both. I go to band practice and I came after band practice. I would go wrestle on Tuesdays.
So pretty stressful then.
Yeah, because we had a studio. His dad owned that resale shop right across the street right across the parking lot, actually, in the same parking lot area. So I would get through studio time or rehearsal time, and I would just walk straight across the parking lot and get into the wrestling side of it. And so, I mean, we're doing. I remember a few times, guys, that I had done wrestling matches at 7 o'clock and bugged completely the hell out because I did about a 20-minute Broadway, and then I had to turn around and go do a 2.5-hour show.
Damn.
Beat up, hurt, didn't matter. That time we did what we called a wake-up call, which was a shot of wild turkey and a can of Mountain Dew. And that was how or 2 shots of wild turkey and a can of Mountain Dew, depending on what mood you were in that was the only thing. I mean, I wasn't a heavy drinker, but I would. It just got you juiced up just enough to go. I mean, some other guys had pills, some guys had, and I'm not going to narc who had what addictions in our band, but I mean, it was never like a strong where somebody had to go to rehab or any dumb shit like that. But everybody has their own vice and it's their own cross to bear. But
totally, we
would do that, and it would help me fired up. To this day, I don't think I could do that. If it would turn around right now and you got to be here, like I don't think my daughter lives with me now. I'm very happy to say, and I don't think I could invest that much time. We're in high school. There's stuff she needs. There's I couldn't put that kind of a schedule in anymore.
But it made you who you are to this day.
Yeah, good or bad. That's still undecided.
Yeah, it's on the board. It's still being discussed. Well, I will say, like I've said before, I'll say it again, as always, it's always been a pleasure having you here. We are running out of time, but before we do go, is there any last things you'd like to say to any of the viewers?
Wow, we burned an hour.
We burned an hour.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
This is why I look forward to when we have a guest. This is what I like.
Wow, I haven't even touched the tip of the stories yet.
Wow.
We might have to. I always wanted to do a shoot interview.
We might have to do a part 2. Yeah.
I've always wanted.
I mean,
maybe we'll have to get together one time and just maybe not outside of this, but actually just shoot the very first ever Brian Ely shoot.
There you go.
Because it's pretty juicy. But Brian get me in a lot of trouble.
We can make something like that happen. Yeah.
But
have to age block it and all that.
I don't know if it'd be age block, but I mean it would have to be a filter. Like it definitely have to be no holds barred. I'm not a guy that. And about
After
80
the
bodies.
It'll be a pure after the bell.
After the bell's totally.
I'd probably need about 2 hours. But
there you go. But
for all the stories that can't be told.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, is there any things you'd like to share with any of the fans or say to the fans before we head out?
Thanks for sticking with me all these years. Like I came back, and when I came back, Derek Moss was the guy.
Yeah.
Like, and I put that undeserving SOB in that, spot because I thought he was
what your mom said.
Somebody that I even remember I went to this kid at one time and said, I think you're going to be the guy to retire. This before the heart attack.
Yeah.
Because I saw so much of me in him at that time, and then he takes a total 360 and turns into I don't even know what the hell you want to call him to this day. I refer to the word as bitch, but that's just me. So, it is what it is. Or that's a personal thing, that's not a work thing. But it's what's coming now is, I hope, the best that I've ever given. Because honestly, if I can't reach the level I once competed in, now getting back in the shape that I'm currently getting into, or then it's time for me to walk away because it's not fair to hold a spot down to all the other young talent. If I'm not wanted there and I can't produce there, PWA has never been an organization that just because you own it. Listen, last week I got my ass chewed out just like a rookie would, you know, and that was that happens. You know what I mean? Like when I say that, when I said earlier, we will call each other out on our bullshit. We do. Like you don't get things because of who you are.
Right.
You know, I very much try to keep political shit out. Like you get what you earn. Now saying this about Derek was a good champion in a time which took the spot that I had because we needed it. For that, I'll always be thankful. For the rest of the shit after that, but past the rest of it, you know, it's just I just look forward to finishing some things off. You know, I'm 35 now. I'd like to. I don't know if I'll be here past 40. I think she'll be coming up, and I think I'll want to more or less be on the sidelines watching that and helping her develop. Maybe stick around. Maybe come back for the one match she talks about having, which hopefully it'll be at WrestleMania and not Springfield, Illinois. But you know, that's just where I'm kind of goal oriented. You know, I've never held the heavyweight championship. I've never won a Brawltoberfest.
You have held a regional.
I did hold the regional title.
It was unified with the world.
And I'm the only guy that held twice before it was, you know, unified. I've held many as tag team champions, not the PWA. But I really want to end that out on a good note. Now, that being said, that's not me, hey, I won this. Listen, I've had many conversations telling people this is where I'm going. The directors of PWA know this. You know, this is what I want. This is what I'm working to. When it's deserved, it will come.
Right.
Hopefully, it just accomplished that. You know, I really want to win Toga. You know, I'd really love to be the first guy to be the Grand Slam champion. You know, because not everybody has a chance to hold the old regional title. You know,
that's a hell of an aspiration, though.
That's the steps that I'm taking forward into this comeback now. Where the other time when I came back, it was more of a, can I still do this? I'm gonna prove myself. Like I watched the match we had with Derek Moss. It was online somewhere, and I couldn't believe the performance that we had. For no more capable, I was not ready for that. You know, and I remember I purely did that for him, so there was no second guessing.
Yeah.
Who is the real regional champion? Like, I mean, that whole program was nothing. That was just kind of me giving back. And that's, you know, I just wasn't in the mindset that I needed to be in. I wasn't in the shape that I needed to be in, and I really should have probably took a full 2 years off instead of coming back a year and a quarter.
Well, if I may ask, would you please do the honor?
Absolutely.
And while he's doing that, Becca, any last thoughts of you?
Bella!
Bella, sorry.
She'll beat you for that one.
Sorry, I've been talking to my friend Becca as well about things. So too many B's.
Just thanks for having me.
Nothing about what you want to aim for the future or anything like that? You're going to be one of a few words, huh?
She is. The poor girl. She was so nervous on the way over.
I just have a hard time believing this when she's your daughter, that she's a woman of few words.
Just till you get to know her.
And I'm also sure we'll probably have you around some other time, so unless you feel like you're ready for it.
Sure.
Hey, there you go.
Might as well. 2 birds, 1 stone.
She just signed her first autograph. Like, for the love of God, that I'll never hear the end of that. Like, you saw the ego of Brian Ely at that. Oh my God.
Oh, I'm quite familiar with the ego of Brian Ely.
Well, Brian, Bella, as I now I'm going to be sure I get it right. Thank you so much for being a part of our show. And guys, thank you for watching.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for sticking around. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell to be notified when we
There you
go
go.
live in the future. And
my good buddies got me.
we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
See ya. See ya. I'll put it in.